Dave has over 40 years of software engineering experience at Data General, Microsoft, and LabKey Software. And so he comes at this from the tech side, and he's created this great tool that journalists and the public at large can use. It's a little after 12:40. We have him until 1:20. So he's going to, he has a short presentation. He's going to show you the website with Dave's redistricting, and then we'll have time for some questions. And with that, I want to turn it over to Dave.
Yeah, so thank you all for being here. It's a pleasure to talk with you. Our organization, we're Dave's Redistricting. It's really just the four of us are the main four people working on this. We're all volunteers. And we have a free web app that you can use for creating district maps, sharing them, analyzing them. And so let me give you a little bit of history of the original one from 10 years ago, and then kind of what we're doing now. And then I'll do a little demo at the end. So we'll go through it pretty quickly and hopefully leave time for plenty of questions. Okay. So back in 2009, early 2009, I created the original DRA. It was just me. I had left Microsoft a few months before and wasn't quite ready to take another job for another company. I've always been interested in politics, following the stuff, following the redistricting. I knew it was coming up. So I wanted to kind of explore some district maps a little bit and kind of, play around with it a little bit. But there was nothing out there that wasn't going to cost me, $5,000 or $10,000 to do that. So I just started creating an app. So I created a prototype and put it up on the web. And what I discovered is a lot of other people were interested in doing this. Basically in that couple of years, a lot of bloggers used the app. It kind of had a little, it became popular among a certain group of people. And one of the, people gave me a lot of feedback that really helped drive what the app would become. And we even, got some press on it too. So this is like, you can still go to the Wall Street Journal article and they have a picture of this map that somebody created with the old Dave's Redistricting that they used to call the bacon mander. It's somebody doing a Democratic gerrymander of New York State, and that was obviously, kind of a fun thing, a haha type of thing. But a lot of people were using it seriously too. So bloggers, some state legislators used it. It was used in a couple of, just to help people direct a couple of court cases in different places. So it got a certain amount of use back then. Then after the redistricting cycle, the app, is still up. It's the old app is still there. And a couple things happened during the decade. One was I was in contact with the people from Fair Vote. And so I added a feature to allow multi-member districts to make it easy to build those in the app. And then they used the app to do an analysis of, what if we had multi-member districts on various southern states, and kind of, what's the political breakdown going to be? What's the minority representation? That kind of thing. And then a few years ago, 538, along with Dave Wasserman, created the Atlas of Redistricting. And in doing that, they got some newer data than the old app had that I put in. And then they used the app to create more than 200 maps that went into their Atlas of Redistricting. So that's, still up there. You can kind of explore that. But they did the, here's the, for every state that has more than one congressional district, they did the, here's the Republican gerrymander, here's the Democratic gerrymander, here's, fair map, et cetera, and kind of analyzed those as well. So it was getting use over the decade. Now, the problem with the old app, it was built on Silverlight, which is a plugin like Flash. And as I'm sure you all know, plugins like are not good anymore. So as we got into 2018, I was working, I had a job, but I was thinking, what am I going to do? I didn't really know what I was going to do for this cycle. I wanted to do something to kind of, build a new app or something, but I didn't know what the technology was going to be. But I knew the old technology was dead, that we really had to do something different. So, so in 2018, I was in touch with, there's sort of a tech community in Seattle, as a guy named Mike Matthew, who's sort of a tech entrepreneur, used to work at Microsoft, and he's just connected with a lot of people. And so through him, he and Alec, who's one of the other team members, I had sort of been talking with them for years really about this stuff. And then he introduced me to Terry as well, and then we kind of got this going off the ground, got a prototype built, and the beta was launched about 2 years ago. And so we've coalesced around this mission, and because we like the tech, we like building the thing, but then what's if you boil down, what are we really doing this for? It's really, we want to empower organizations and activists to advocate for fair congressional and legislative districts and increase transparency in the redistricting process. So help people understand what's going on and help them be able to participate if they can in, making this a better process, more fair, more transparent. So where we're at today, our new app's called DRA 2020. It's a web app. All the maps are in the cloud. It's free. You sign up with email password. So you can share maps. So kind of like Google Docs, you can create a link, share it with somebody, and edit it in real time with somebody else if you want to. You can publish maps as well. So we've got a pretty good usage. We saw about 1,200 users a day in November and December, and it's bumped up in January now that we kind of passed the election and the holidays. I think we had 500,000 maps started in 2020. Not all of them were finished. A lot of them were finished, and then the top states are kind of not unexpected, sort of the usual suspects of who of where people have interest in kind of trying out creating maps for different different goals, et cetera, and seeing what the analysis looks like. We are connected with a number of advocacy groups called, like as this list here. We've done some training for League of Women Voters, and with many of these groups too, we've been talking with them as we've gone through our feature analysis to kind of help to have them help us direct where some of these features are going and what's meaningful for them. So like particularly like with the minority representation work that we've done in the app and the analysis, we've talked with Southern Coalition for Social Justice and some others as well, like NAACP, Legal Defense Fund, so we've talked with various people there. We're kind of connected with them to really help us help them. There's also a number of kind of ecosystem partners. In other words, these are other groups that are working in this same space on different tools, and all with the similar goal of this kind of fairer and more transparent redistricting, at least in general. So these are some of the other groups that we stay in contact with. We share ideas, keep each other abreast of the status, and kind of make sure our tools interoperate as well. So that's kind of the landscape there. And so, yeah, this is a current status. It's a web app, it's free. As I said, you can create, share, and analyze. all states and the District of Columbia are enabled, and we have a comprehensive analytics suite. We have the 2010 census data, the 2018, the ACS 5-year estimates are in the app for all the states. We've got election data for every state. It does vary depending upon, we depend on some other partners, that group VEST and Princeton Gerrymandering Project. We depend on them to get the election data. And so it depends on kind of what is available as to which states have what data. We've put the current official maps for Congress and legislature in the app so that you can just go there and analyze them. You don't have to upload them or find them. You can also like take an official map, make a copy of it, and then start working on your map from there. And we do have some support for communities of interest as well. And what we're doing now, what we're working on, we will be getting the 2020 census geography into the app. As you know, the geography has been released for about half the states, and the other half is supposed to come out this month, but the data, it's going to be a while. And we will get the census data into the app, as soon as that's released. We're preparing for that now. We're working on block level mapping as well. So today in the app, you're working with precinct level, the voting districts, but we are, excuse me, going to enable the block level mapping as well to be able to go down to that level. We'll get more election data. We're working on more community of interest support. And we really want to, keep pushing outward to increase the awareness, connect with more partners, connect with more groups to really help, facilitate our mission, really helping people push for fairer districts and a more transparent process around the country. Here's a bunch of links of how you can find us. We do have some instructional videos on YouTube. We have a lot of kind of help articles and articles about what we're doing on the Medium. So those are good resources as well. Okay. And so that's it for the presentation part. So let me do a little bit of a demo here, and time-wise, I guess we're in pretty good shape here. I'll make the demo quick. Okay, so I'm gonna close that, and you can see this here, which hopefully you can see that.
Yep, we can see it.
Let's see. I'm gonna make this not full screen here if I can do. Let's see. There we go. But instead, just do it this way, because then I can refresh this here to make it fit the screen. So can you see that? You can see the map of the US there. And
yes, I see the US map.
So this is, if you come to our homepage, this is what you'll see. I'm already logged in. If you haven't logged in or sign up, there'll be like a button for that as well. And really what I want to do today, since we just have a little bit of time, is just show you a map that's mostly made and kind of show you the different things that you can do with that. So I click on this. This is my list of maps. Of course, I've got a lot of random stuff because I'm testing different things out all the time. But you click on this thing here, there are the official maps down here. So you can see, for every state, the congressional, upper house, lower house, whatever there is, we've got the official maps built in. But going back to my maps here, I'm going to, let's see here. Actually, I'm going to search for, this is another thing you can do. You can use the search bar to kind of narrow your maps down. But I just want to grab this one called AZ9, and I'll click edit to put, so this is, if you are creating map or analyzing a map then you'll select the map and go to this page here. So just want to go through a few things quickly to kind of give you a sense of what the application can do. Over here, so this is a map of 9 congressional districts for Arizona. And you can see over here on the left, we've got 1 through 9. These are the districts. So this shows what the population is that this map I've put in each district, and then the deviation from the target that we're trying to hit. There's sort of various kind of overlays you can do. You can sort of get rid of the precinct lines. You can make district lines. A lot of different things like that. The background map we can show. Then up here on the top, there's these are the tools for sort of painting the map. Painting is the metaphor for assigning precincts to districts. So these are the controls. I won't go into that, but there's different controls for painting and erasing, that kind of thing. There's some tools here. This little drop down has some tools that help you find maybe unassigned precincts. Sometimes they're real small precincts that you can't find, that have 5 people in them, and this helps you find those. Or non-contiguous districts. Districts have to be contiguous, of course, and so sometimes you might have a small piece that it's hard to find. That there's some districts that it ended up in the wrong place. So we've got these different tools to help you finish your map off. And then over here, these buttons up here are where you go to get the analytics and statistics. So let me just click statistics. So this is showing you, okay, here's the districts that were built, total population. This second column, the plus or minus, that's the deviation from the target. And we highlight the ones that are sort of 0.75% or more away from the target population. We'll have some icons to tell you which districts are not contiguous. We give you a sense of the partisanship and a sense of the minority opportunities. So the gray highlight under minority, Hispanic, those are the opportunities. Minority is all minorities, and Hispanic would just be that specific minority. And essentially we're showing you if there is 35% or more of the voting age population, then we're going to consider that to be an opportunity. At least highlight it in this sense. Moving on to the analytics piece here, on this page, we're giving giving the analysis along 5 different dimensions. So proportionality, competitiveness, minority representation, compactness, and splitting. So what this little spider diagram shows is the normalized score that you get for each of these 5 dimensions that we've scored with our algorithms. And then there's there's detail sections for each of these here. So proportionality, and what we mean by proportionality is, how close is the likely delegation on a partisanship sense to match the statewide vote. And it's the statewide vote against a data set that you've selected to use for this. By default, we have a composite data set that we like to use that has a couple of presidential elections, senatorial elections, governor's election, but you could choose something different if you wanted to do this measure. And so, like in this case, it is very proportional, meaning that the breakdown between Republicans and Democrats is pretty close to what it would be given a statewide vote between Republicans and Democrats. Okay, so we have a lot of analysis for along those dimensions. And then on this advanced tab over here, so this is like if you really want to get into the weeds, we have some more detailed analytics. So these are algorithms that we've implemented, most of which have come from academia. So this rank votes curve, or rank votes graph, sort of shows you where, this is on a partisanship scale, where the different districts fall. And my colleague Alec is the one who really knows this stuff well. So I can only answer surface questions as to what exactly everything means here. But seats vote curve. So these are different things, different academics have proposed and we have implemented them. Different bias measures. So you've heard of the efficiency gap. That was one that was used in I think the Wisconsin case a few years ago. And so there's different measures of partisan bias here that people have proposed. So we calculate those different measures here. So you can really kind of go down, you can get into a lot of detail with analyzing your map here. This one down here is our latest one, democratic voting, where here, why don't I just do this? This was, we worked with an academic, Professor Anzalabeher from Harvard to kind of get this implemented. So when I say he's Hispanic, and I'll compare to, so this is kind of comparing District 7 Hispanics versus whites in terms of, and I think what they're trying to measure here is like, how do people vote in these different demographic groups, right? So a lot of deep stuff here that you can get with our app. So I'm gonna stop the demo there, and then I see a lot of hands. So take people's questions.
Yeah. So
about,
let me.
what we're doing.
All right. Thank you very much, Dave. That was great stuff. We are getting lots of hands up there. We'll go Tiffany, Stephen C, Tyler, Lauren, Ethan. Stella, your hand is up. Is that left over from last time, or do you have a question on this one?
Sorry, that was from last time.
Okay, so we'll start with Tiffany right now.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. I'm wondering how much of this analysis can be done before the census released the apportionment data. Is this on publicly available information from the census, or do you work with groups that provide you with data, or how do you get the underlying data for this?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So I mean, until we have the detailed 2020 census data out, we can't, these numbers are just estimates, right? What we do have, if I'll just show on the app here, if I go back to the map. So let's see, for this particular map, so I'm using, you can kind of see here, these, what we call primary data sets. So I've selected the 2018 total population and CVAP data. So that comes from the 5-year American Community Survey data. And that's the closest we're going to have until the 2020 census data comes out. You can select the 2010 data as well, but that's obviously pretty old. Until we really get the detailed data, which, they're talking July, end of July now, these will just be estimates in terms of doing any kind of analysis till then.
Okay. And Tiffany is a reporter with Bloomberg Law and Bloomberg Government in Sacramento. And so others, tell us your affiliation, name and affiliation with the speakers. We'll go to Stephen C now.
Hi, Dave. Stephen Caruso, Pennsylvania Capital Star. So just kind of the first thing is just I've used your app before. I feel like I'm showing my complete like political nerd side. So like this is pretty cool for me. But I guess like my main question was having used it though, like when we get the new maps, like when we have like so like once we start seeing the first legislative plans, congressional plans, will there be a way to use your app to like either upload lines or or edit the lines that we get to like maybe like do analyses or like help people like see how those maps impact them? Is that something you guys are planning, or is there, I don't know if that's something that's going to be more like partners, but I'm just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So yeah, we do have the ability to import a block assignment file is sort of the one of the ways. So if states publish their drafts as a block assignment file, we can import that and then represent that, in exactly with census blocks and precincts or voting districts. So that's one way to get that. Yeah, at this point, because there's just the four of us, we haven't kind of committed to like that we're going to do all the work for all the different states to sort of say, hey, oh, that state just released a new draft. We've sort of talked about whether or not we can partner with other people who would do that work, and just keep an eye on each state and say, yeah, be on top of when new drafts get released and all that kind of thing. But you could always do it yourself. So if you're interested in a particular state, and if you can get a block assignment file, then you could upload it. We don't take a shape file or GeoJSON type representation and upload that directly. Although one of our, I listed those sort of ecosystem partners. So one of the groups, the group VEST, which is Michael McDonald from University of Florida, it's like his group. They are talking about having a tool that would take a shape file. So in other words, if a state released a shape file for a map, a proposed map, that their tool would then take that and translate it into a block assignment file that then we could load, and maybe we'll get more closely connected with that tool. That it remains to be seen. But anyway, there should be ways that you can do that.
All right, up next, Tyler Buchanan.
Hi, thanks for taking the question. I was hoping you can give a sense real quick on just like the type of software programs that the people that are actually tasked with redrawing the maps or putting drafts up. I've just heard generally from folks in Ohio that it's very sophisticated software, and it's been described to me as like being like very expensive. And like what is it they're working on? How much is it different than just like the app and program you're using?
Yeah, I mean, I think that most of the people that kind of really do this, the commissions or the legislative staff, they probably use Maptitude. And Maptitude, it's a company, it's like a GIS software, and they have a package for redistricting where they'll have preloaded data, or that the particular users can load whatever data they want. I think Esri also has a redistricting kind of package, and I think like Maptitude might be like $5,000 per seat, so, and it's more of a desktop. They do have a kind of a web version that they've built that, so like a commission might say, okay, we're going to really use the desktop software to do the nitty gritty, but we have kind of an out-facing website that the public can see, and maybe we'll present our maps there, and they can at least see them and look at them, that kind of thing. So, but those are two companies that I've heard of that I think do most of at least the congressional legislative work. There are other companies that do more of the local stuff, GIS type companies that do county and city redistricting as well.
Lauren Gibbons.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much for the presentation. This is really fascinating. My question, I'm based in Michigan, and I'm, trying to wrap my head around communities of interest, especially as we start to hear from more of them. And that's not necessarily something that's always like reflected in census data, simply because it's, sometimes it's a cultural or more economic community of interest. And since it's such a big part of what the independent commission is tasked with doing, do you have any specific tips on how to maybe incorporate some of those communities once we start to learn more about what they're considering up here?
Yeah, this is a huge topic for this redistricting cycle. We've talked with a lot of groups that are really thinking about it. So there's a couple of tools out there. There's one called Representable, which is from the Princeton Gerrymandering Project. And then there's one called Districtor, which is from the MGGG, which is the Tufts University group. And with those tools, and I know there may be a couple of other ones out there too, that where a community or an individual can say, hey, I'm going to create a community that's my community. I'm going to specify on the map, what set of precincts or even census blocks is my community, and then have some text, like a name and why this is my community, and all that kind of stuff to go along with that. So like with Representable, for example, you can do that, and then you can export like a shape that represents, that shows you what that community is. We can import that. We sort of have a way to do these custom overlays, so we can show that to you on the map. And we can do the same thing. They're kind of, we don't have the building communities of interest directly in our app as what we would call like a first-class citizen, first-class feature. It's something we're talking about, but we haven't decided whether we're going to do that or just to rely on those other tools. But I think that, yeah, there are tools out there, and then like in our app, you can like draw, an area that then you can create like an overlay for that. And so you can do it in the app as well. It doesn't have the kind of information that goes along with that in our app itself. So a lot of people thinking of it, and I think there'll be more. There is a group called the Redistricting Data Hub. I think I listed them there, but you could search for them, and if you contact them, they're really trying to be a group that helps all those communities of interest and to be kind of a clearinghouse in a way of information for community groups around the country. So it's Redistricting Data Hub. So you can search for them. We talk, there's various people there. John O'Neill is the one we usually talk with. So that's been a good resource.
All right. And so just an FYI, you've seen some chat responses from David Wren in the chat function. He is with Dave's Redistricting. He's one of partner colleagues with Dave Bradlee. I think Ethan's question will be the last one. And Tyler Mertens, if you could maybe drop the stop share so we can or Dave, if you could stop the share. But we'll go to Ethan right now.
Hey there, I'm Ethan DeWitt, reporter at the Concord Monitor in New Hampshire. Mike, I have two really quick questions. One of them on behalf of my editors. Inevitable question, can these maps be exported, and can they also be embedded in news articles? Is that a function? Or if a news organization wanted to show some of these maps, how would we go about that? And the second one, sorry, before I forget it, is if we wanted to do an efficiency gap analysis or a wasted vote analysis, you mentioned that there is already voting data in your system. And I'm wondering how specific is the data? For instance, if I want to look at like a state Senate map, or we have something called the Executive Council in New Hampshire, or the House, would that data, that voting data, be election results at that level for every state, or would that be data we'd have to put in? Like if I, how did the House vote?
Right. Yeah. So first question first. So yeah, we have various ways that you can export your map. So you can export a block assignment file, so that could be loaded into other tools. You can export a GeoJSON, which is like a shape file representation. So it would have shapes for every one of your districts that could be imported. You can export an image as well. We'll do like a PNG of your entire map. So you could like export a PNG and use that in an article. Now, right now we only export kind of the whole thing, the whole state. So what people do if you want to sort of get a zoomed in area, you want to look at, Concord or something, right? Or a particular area. People essentially do screen share, or not screen share, screen capture. So you just use the tool on your Windows or your Mac, to kind of take a picture of your screen and then use that image as well. But yeah, so you could do that. To your point about the data, so we have again, it varies by state depending on what we get, but we don't have any state house votes or even House of Representatives, U.S. Congress votes. We'll get statewide races. So the main ones. So Senate, Governor, Attorney General, and President are pretty much, and Lieutenant Governor. But so those are the ones that we'll, when we get the data from our data partners, those are the ones that we'll extract and put into the app. Now we build a composite, so you can, when you want to do your analysis, you can use the composite, or you can use an individual one of those elections that the state has. There's also, we have like the PVI, which is, the Cook Political Report, PVI from 2012 and 2016 presidential election, because that's already built in. And we probably will try to update that when we get the 2020 data, but we haven't really decided that. So just one more point, there is not a way at this point where you could upload your own data into the app and use that for the analysis. So, I mean, it's something we've talked about, but it's harder than it looks. But one thing you could do if you had like an outside tool that would do efficiency gap or something like that, again, you can export the data as well. So we'll export like a CSV of whatever. So for example, like a row for each district, and then columns for all the demographic data as well as the election data that we have. We will export that. So you might be able to take that and then feed that into some other tool that would do some analysis or add your own data in some way.